All right, everyone, this is Cynthia Hinman, and this morning we're going to be talking about the reliability demand response resource bidding enhancements. Again, I'm Cynthia Hinman, the lead client trainer here at the California ISO, or I should say one of the lead client trainers here at the California ISO. So let us get started. And we're going through the introductions. We'll start with the housekeeping as always. Please make sure to keep yourself muted, and I think everybody is doing that unless you have a question. And if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. If you'd like, you can either ask your question over the phone when you unmute yourself, and make sure, by the way, when you unmute, you need to unmute both on the WebEx and device you're using. So you can do it over the phone or you can do a chat. And if you want to ask a question virtually, you can raise your hand again, or you can use the chat. In every single section, we will have a time for questions, so you can wait for that period to ask your questions, or if it's something you need to know immediately, you can begin. I don't think this is going to take the whole hour. I am joined by my producer facilitator, Mo, and then there are also subject matter experts from the RDRR project on the phone. So Mo, could you introduce yourself?
Morning, everyone. This is Monica Monitory. I will be here to assist. And if you have any questions, please feel free to add them onto the chat section. Thanks.
And I see that Katie is on the phone. Katie, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, hey, Cindy, sorry, okay, I was double fine. Muted there. Hey, everybody, this is Katie Wickler from the market analysis team.
And it's hard for me to see all the different folks who are participating. Are there other subject matter experts on the line, and I just don't see you? If you are, you can unmute and please introduce yourself.
Hi, this is Marcelo Da Costa. I'm a project manager for the RDRR effort.
Thank you, Marcelo.
Hi, this is Greg Ford from our IT department at CAISO.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks. Okay. Well, let's get going, and I'm sure there will be some others that are joining, but let's get started here. So right now, we're going through our introduction. I'm going to give you some background about RDRR and why this initiative is needed. And then we'll go through the market sim scenario, and we'll go through a wrap up after that and go over the action items for you that are needed. I wanted to start off with a poll question just so I can understand who the audience is. The question is which best describes your organization? And please put your answer in the chat. Is it A, currently submitting bids for an RDRR resource? B, implementing an RDR program in the near future? Or C, if you're an ISO employee? Or D, if you have some other interest or regulatory folks or whatever? I would love to see your responses. A lot of ISO employees, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, great. So we do have folks that submit bids for RDRRs and implementing new RDRR programs. So that's great. This is really intended for you. So I hope you find what you need, and I'll check back with you at the end to make sure you have what you need to go forward in the market sim. So let's start with some background regarding why we have this initiative and why we're implementing it. I'm going to start with the what is RDRR, other than pirate talk, Reliability Demand Response Resource. So back in June of 2014, the investor-owned utilities were required to transition their CPUC-approved retail emergency triggered demand response program so that the ISO could use them. They existed before 2014, but we were trying to bring them on so the ISO could dispatch these resources when and where they were needed. This program is triggered when there is an EEA2 declaration. To be actually precise, today, it's triggered when there is an AWE, a warning. But we are moving over to the NERC EEA program, Emergency Event Alert. I shouldn't even try doing the acronym. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But we're moving from our AWE program to the EEA program on May 1st. If you want to know more about that initiative, you can look at the Summer Preparedness 2022 initiative, which I have a link to at the bottom of this presentation. So what is the issue? Well, in June of 2021, we implemented FERC Order 831, and I'm not going to go into a huge detail about FERC Order 831, but if you want to learn more, again, I have a link for you at the bottom of the screen. But FERC Order 831 was implemented on June 2021, and in certain situations, it enables the energy bid cap to be raised from $1,000 to $2,000. Existing RDRR rules don't address the situation where the bid cap is raised. So RDRR resources have to bid between 90% and 100% of the hard energy bid cap currently. So they're essentially today bidding between $950 and $1,000. And when the bid cap is raised to $2,000, today those bids just stay at that $950 to $1,000 range. So that's the issue we're trying to resolve. So as I just mentioned, the existing process for scheduling coordinators with RDRR resources in their portfolio, in real time, scheduling coordinators would submit a bid in cyber between $950 and $1,000 for those RDRR megawatts by 75 minutes prior to the start of the trade hour. And then if their bid is awarded in real time, then their energy, they're going to get paid the LMP for that energy, and they're going to be dispatched for those intervals. If the bid cap is raised to $2,000, currently nothing happens to align those RDRR bids with that higher bid cap. This initiative implements a new process. So the existing process doesn't change unless the bid cap is raised. So reasons why the bid cap might be raised, and this goes to FERC Order 831, the energy bid cap can be raised because resource-specific resources have submitted a cost-verified energy bid greater than $1,000, or the ISO calculated maximum import bid price is more than $1,000. There's also a third category where the bid cap can be raised from $1,000 to $2,000, and that's when it's actually raised in the day-ahead market to $2,000 for that same hour that we're talking about. So you're going into the hour, and the bid cap is $2,000. So if the energy bid cap is raised to $2,000, the SC will see that notification in cyber. There's a messages tab with a table that shows the bid cap, energy bid cap, and you'll see it there. And then the SC resubmits their energy bid that was between $950 and $1,000. They're going to resubmit a bid between $1,900 and $2,000, or at least 95% of the energy bid cap. Well, let's say you don't have time to put that bid in, or you don't resubmit a bid. If you don't do anything, after the market closes, your bid will be increased to reflect the same percent of the new energy bid cap. than it had before. Are there questions on the background before we move into the market sim?
There are no questions in the chat.
Okay, any questions on the phone? I am hearing no questions, so I am going to continue. So let's talk about the market sim. What do I need to do to participate in the market simulation? You may be asking yourself. The market simulation is scheduled to begin on April 19th, 2022, so that's a little more than a week away. If you want to participate, please submit a request to marketsim@caiso.com and make sure that you say that it's the RDRR Enhancements Market Sim that you want to participate in. The actual deadline was April 7th for making this request, but if you want to participate and you have not registered yet, please submit that request as soon as possible. If you want to get the market sim documentation, you can, I have a link at the bottom of the page for that. And there's also links at the end of this presentation as well. So there's two market sim scenarios. I'm going to go through each one and give an example for each one. So in the first market sim scenario, the point is to increase the energy bid cap and verify that your bids process correctly. So the ISO is going to increase the energy bid cap from $1,000 to $2,000 for hours ending 18 through 22. The scheduling coordinator, when the bid cap is $1,000, should submit bids for at least 2 RDRR resources. So you can see what happens in each situation. So you have bids in there for 2 RDRR resources. The bid cap will then be raised to $2,000, and we're expecting the SC to resubmit a bid for 1 of those resources. Then the SC should verify clean bids are processed correctly for both of those resources. So I'll give you an example. So the ISO sets the energy bid cap for $1,000 for the trade hour. The scheduling coordinator in my example has 2 resources and submits a $950 bid in cyber for each one of them. The ISO raises the energy bid cap to $2,000 for the trade hour, and the scheduling coordinator will then resubmit a bid of $1,975 for their first RDRR resource and do nothing for the second. And as I mentioned in the little note on the side there, $1,975 is a random number. I just picked it for this example. There's no requirement to use that number, but you need to resubmit a bid between $1,900 and $2,000. In this example, the expected outcome would be that RDRR1's clean bid is $1,975, and RDRR2's clean bid is $1,900. So that the ISO automatically increased it to that 95% level. Market sim scenario 2 is to decrease the energy bid cap. In this case, the ISO is going to decrease the energy bid cap from $2,000 back down to $1,000 for hours ending 21 and 22. So as an example of why that might happen, let's say a resource-specific resource with a cost-verified bid greater than $1,000 decides to withdraw their bid. So now there's no conditions to make the bid cap over $1,000. So it would then go back down from $2,000 back down to $1,000. The scheduling coordinator will, when the bid cap is $2,000, will submit bids for 2 RDRR resources. And then when the bid cap goes back down to $1,000, the energy bid cap, will resubmit a bid for one RDRR resource and then verify clean bids are processed correctly for both. Let's go through an example. So the ISO sets the bid cap for $2,000. The scheduling coordinator puts bids in for 2 resources at $1,900 a piece. They put that bid in cyber. Then the ISO lowers the bid cap to $1,000 for that trade hour, 21 or 22. The scheduling coordinator then changes their bid for 1. They resubmit a bid of $975 in cyber for their first resource, and then the second resource, they don't change the bid at all. The expected outcome is that RDRR1 would have a clean bid of $975 in this example, and RDRR2 would have a clean bid of $950. So those are the 2 market sim scenarios. Are there questions about either the background or the market sim scenarios?
Yes, good morning. Joshua Arnold, PG&E. One quick question on the reset of the bid cap from 2,000 to 1,000. Are you going to be doing that for the entire hour or only for portions of an hour? Or are you going to do both, perhaps?
Katie, do you have an answer for that?
Hey, yeah, sure. Cindy, would you mind going back to your previous slide wherever we say what the hours are on that one?
21, oh, there it is, 21 and 22.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, so we would be decreasing the cap for both of those hours and it would be applicable for the entire hour. We don't have a granularity smaller than the hour upon which we can change the energy bid cap. So it would be for both of those hours.
I believe you can change the bid cap on a 15-minute basis if the $2,000 are hit in the FMM runs. Can they not?
This is Greg. No, we're talking about the cyber. So let's be clear. We're talking about the cyber, the bid caps in cyber, which are hourly, and I think you might be referring to the I don't remember what the term, but in the market systems, I mean, you can hit the there's the like the pricing functionality. I'm trying to remember what the technical term for it is, but that's different, right? So we're just talking about what the bid caps are going to be when we're in cyber.
Okay,
Josh.
A little bit. I'm just concerned. You know, obviously the bid cap going to $2,000 is a FERC 831 function, and if we assume that we can trigger that under either the day ahead or the real-time market, if we're going into an FMM period and the $2,000 are triggered for a period of time, what happens if that FERC 831 trigger is removed partway through the hour? It seems like this then removes those bids entirely from the bid stack because the soft cap of $1,000 would be the target for, say, the last half of an hour if only the first 2 FMM intervals were triggered under FERC 831.
Okay, so I think the inputs to both are the same. I mean, it's going to be an hourly. So we have the import maximum import bid price. We have a cost justified bid out of cyber that's above $1,000. Those will trigger what happens in the market, and that's all hourly. These FMM processes then I think only come into play when we're actually dispatching a resource that has a bid above $1,000, right? And so then so it's really so it's the inputs and then cyber and then the market. So I'm not sure if I'm just not understanding what your concern is, or maybe I'm not explaining it very well. It's been a while since I've looked at the market.
Yeah, I'm just worried that if you're keeping the RDRR bids at the elevated price cap and the price cap is no longer being used by the by the market systems, that you'd be effectively removing the RDRR bids from dispatch through the market systems, or you'd be forcing the system to maintain the hard cap beyond the terms outlined under FERC 831. Because I believe on the price justified bid cap, it's not just the submission of the bid, it's the dispatch of the bid that triggers the 831 in the real time.
There's no feedback loop between the market and cyber, and in terms of, other than the day-ahead market feeding into the real time. Yeah, so it's not like the FMM is going to drive something in cyber there. It's simply that there's going to be, we have a condition where we have bids. The bid cap's up to $2,000 for an hour. Now in FMM, we're still going to be dispatching those in, kind of a relative sort of a merit order, managing our nodal conditions and everything. But yeah, I mean, so we may not get to that price, but we need to maintain the order of the bidding, so the RDRs will still be up at the top of the stack, along with maybe some 15-minute ties and some other resources that are bidding there, plus the generators that have been bidding above 1,000. It might be good just to, you could send an email to.
Yeah, I'm going back over the tariff language now just to make sure I understand it. Since, like you said, it's been so long, I thought it could reset partway through the hour, but I may also be misremembering. I'll look into that further and.
Okay,
and send that in. Thank you.
Yeah, Josh, send a city ticket in if that's a question. So, thank you. Other questions?
No other questions on the chat?
Thank you, Mo. I think I'm going to continue on. So the last thing that I wanted to go through is just recap all the things that you need to do to be prepared for the Market Sim. So register for the Market Sim if you haven't already and you want to participate. It's past the deadline, so do it as soon as you can. We have documents available for your review so that you can be prepared for this Market Sim. We have the Market Simulation Plan, Market Simulation Scenarios, cyber rules, and cyber release notes. After this, a slide or two, I have links to all of where you can find all of these things. Please participate in the Market Sim and ask questions if necessary. You can participate in the Market Sim meetings. They're on Mondays and Thursdays, I believe, and submit a city ticket if you have a question. So that's what we're looking for, and if you do all those things, there'll be a successful Market Sim. So that's all I have, but I want to make sure that you got everything that you need. So I have one more poll here. Do you have what you need to participate in that market simulation? There are A, B, C, or D, and A is yes. B is I'm pretty sure. C is I still have some questions, and D is I really don't know what to do. So you can put your answer in the chat. Thank you, Aziz. All right, well, I won't up good. Some folks are prepared. All right, if you have questions, as we mentioned, you can submit a city ticket for any further questions, or you can contact customer training at caiso.com and we'll help you out. Finally, there are resources available for you. Well, there actually have one other thing besides the resources, but let's look at the resources first. If you have questions about this initiative and the proposals associated with it, we have links to the stakeholder process documents. That's the first bullet. The second bullet will give you the documents related to the release planning according to the implementation. So if you want to take a look at the BRS, for example, or the Market Sim details, you would go to that link. Finally, if you're interested in knowing about the cyber release notes or the cyber business rules, there's a link for you there as well. One final thing is that I do, as in all of our training courses, we have a course evaluation, and I think Mo's going to probably post the link to that. If you could please take a few minutes just to fill that out, I'd really appreciate it. If not, I'll probably send something out with that survey as well. Really. Are there any final questions before we jump off of this call? I see that Josh also posted some information.
Yeah, my apologies. I was misremembering the whole thing. You guys are correct. It is only for trading hours in full blocks. You are entirely correct. I found the tariff section.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep, my bad. You guys are on the ball.
Well, it was great to clarify it, though. You know, I wasn't sure either.
Yep.
Very good.
I was definitely misremembering based on old discussions, so I'm glad we were able to clear that up, and glad you guys remembered what was right.
All right. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, we've done our job here, and again, can send you questions to customertraining@caiso.com about this presentation. The presentation is posted on the Learning Center and also on the release plan page and on the Stakeholder Initiatives page. So if you need to take a look at the presentation, it's available for you. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Terminate the record button.